Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Go Fight Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I'm Steve Risser, along with Justin D'Onofrio, and it is just continuing for the Yankees. They are continuing to struggle. Last night, they lose to the Mets 3-2. Their third loss to the Mets this year. They haven't beaten the Mets yet this season. So it's been more of the same for the last month with this team. You know, the offense has been inconsistent. I mean, there's some games where they'll hit like they did on Monday. They'll score 9 runs. And there was a game where they scored 14 a couple weeks ago against the Red Sox. But then there's times where they can't even score, and just like last night. And then the pitching has been up and down. I know we got a good start from Rodon on Monday, and Garrett Cole's starting to find his form. But then, Luis Seal only goes 5 innings last night. So the pitching's been up and down. The bullpen, we know right now we can't trust Clay Holmes in the bullpen. So, I mean, I know this team is only a game and a half out of first place. But looking at this team right now, to me, if they don't add at the trade deadline, there is no way they're winning a World Series. There's no way they're winning the World Series. They have got to do something next week. If we're sitting here a week from today talking about this, and they had done nothing, Brian Cashman should be fired, because the reason he went out and got Juan Soto was to compete for a championship. And what are you telling Juan Soto if you do nothing? What are you telling him? Do you really think Juan Soto is going to re-sign here next year if you do nothing? So the way this team is right now, this team is not constructed to win a World Series. I mean, I know they got off to a hot start, but the way they've been playing the last month, this team is not constructed to win a championship, and they got to make some changes.
Oh, big time. Did you see the stat that their number 4 hitter, or the cleanup hitter, is the all year they get the worst OPS in the league at the cleanup spot? It's 588.
Wow, that's
what
crazy.
A pitcher has.
That's crazy. But part of that is because Verdugo was in that spot, and now with Stan and Rizzo out, you got Austin Wells. Austin Wells in that spot.
These Wells have been hit better. He's been hit a bit better.
I'll give you
than
that.
Most of everybody else. But yeah, like last night, you got J.D. Davis and Jahmai Jones protecting Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, and I know we'll get to it, but hopefully because the Mets walked Judge 4 times, that maybe the Yankees will learn to walk Rafael Devers this weekend. But who knows? Yeah. But yeah, it's bad right now. Their lineup stinks. Outside of Judge Soto, because even Ben Rice now, I think, is 4 for his last 44 now.
It feels like he's done nothing. It feels like he's done nothing since that game.
Yeah. And pitchers kind of caught up. You get more in the scouting report. That's kind of what's going to happen to rookies, and that's what's happened. And Austin Wells been a bit better, but yeah, like other than that, the lineup right now, you just like they need a few bats. Like, and I just Jonathan India, Luis Rengifo with the Angels. Like, there's a couple of bats, but yeah, will Cashman do it? Who knows? But yeah, you're right. They have 1 year with Juan Soto, so you better do something, because the guy right down the road from you in the down in Flushing, and Steve Cohen, with the way the Mets are playing, he can throw as much money as he wants at Juan Soto. So, they better do something. But who knows with Brian Cashman? Hopefully it sounds like Jason Dominguez will be back sooner rather than later. But they really do need something in this lineup, and yeah, even in the bullpen too.
Yeah, and when the way this team is hitting, you can't wait for Stanton to come back. You can't wait for Dominguez to come back. You got to make moves now. You got to improve it now. Because if you don't keep improving it now, you're just going to continue. You're just going to keep losing. I know the schedule's favorable. I know after the Philly series, they got the Blue Jays and they got the Angels and they got the Rangers. Even though the Rangers are the defending champs, are not playing that well this year. But still, you got to make changes, or you're just going to keep losing. Because we thought games against the Mets and games against the Rays, they'd win. They're not even winning those games. So changes just have to be made.
Yeah, they do. They have to be made. And Boone doesn't sound very like in that mode right now. He's saying the same things that he said the last 7 years about, good at bats last night, things will turn around, the lineup will get going. It just, you can just put in you can just, they could just post, these post game interviews from 5 years ago, and says the same things. And you could go from like last night, the way he says it. So yeah, that you mentioned in all those 9 games too, coming out, the Blue Jays, Rangers, and Angels, they're all at home too. But they had that 1-5 homestand during 4th of July weekend, with the Rays and Red Sox. So even playing at home, it's
you mean the Reds? You mean the Reds? The Reds, who they got swept?
Yeah, the Reds. Yeah, they got swept, and then the Red Sox, they took 2 out of 3 from you, during 4th of July week. So yeah, you'd hope you can go like a 6-3. That would, or 7-2 at that point. But yeah, with the way this team's playing, they really do need an infusion of something in this lineup right now, because it's not good. And yeah, you just you just see it most days. Like Monday they have fun because they scored 9 runs, but most nights, it's miserable to watch their at bats and watch their the lineup go.
Yeah, it's feast or famine. It's feast or famine. They'll score 9 runs, they'll score 14 runs, they'll score 16 runs, but then when they need to score runs, like on Sunday, when they need to score runs, they don't. Then when they need to score runs like last night, they don't. And that did not happen early in the season. They were scoring runs early in the season, but it's just not happening now. It's just not happening now. I mean, it's really outside of Judge and Soto. Who are you scared of in this lineup right now? Nobody.
No, that's the issue. And even when guys get on, nobody's a threat besides Volpe. We've talked about this. They're not athletic at all. And that baseball's kind of gotten itself to that point where you see the Red Sox, you see Baltimore. They got multiple guys that can steal bases. Deli Cruz just stole his 50th base already today against the Braves. They don't have guys that can do that. And Volpe's been in a slump for the last 2 months, so it's like you don't even rely on him to get on base most days. So you don't put any pressure on any of these pitching staffs. And yeah, you're just home run or bust, and that's great and all. But yeah, when you're not in rhythm, when when your lineup really can't do much, like it has been, you're not going to score runs. And that's been the problem in the postseason, is they struggle and they put up 1 or 2 runs and it's not enough. And it's just the same thing over and over. And, we've talked about it. As long as they win 90 games, Hal makes his profit. They don't care. It's not championships or bust anymore. I know they tell you that, but if it was, Boone and Cashman would have been fired, 3-4 years ago.
And I've been a broken record saying this because I've said this for years. Yeah, and you're right. If it was championship or bust, exactly, Boone and Cashman would be gone. They wouldn't be here if it was championship or bust. Aaron Boone, this is his 7th year as the manager. If it was championship or bust, he would have been gone the year they lost to Boston, the Red Sox, in the wild card round. So, and then that play-in game. So, yeah, that's going to be the thing. If they win, 90, they get their 90 wins. They're probably just going to bring everyone back. And to me, if Cashman doesn't make a significant move, and this team loses in the wild card round, Cashman and Boone got to go.
They should. They absolutely should have to go. The thing with Cashman is, I think he's got a job for life with Hal. I don't think Hal,
which is absolutely ridiculous.
It is, but I don't. The only thing that I could think could happen is Hal says, "Can you step aside? I'll give you, a different, spot in the organization, But then the problem is, will they do an outside search, or will they just hire the assistant to Cashman and
I know.
That's what I worry about, and it's gonna be the same thing. Boone. The problem is, we're just gonna get another Aaron Boone. Like that. I think that's the issue. Now, maybe you get somebody that will somewhat get on a player, when he has to. I think that's the best you can do, but it really seems like the Yankees do not want to go that route because they got rid of Girardi for doing that with Gary, and I think you do need to have a little bit of discipline and go after your guys you know when when you have bad kind of like Volpe a couple weeks ago, and the base running stuff. You got to be somewhat critical, but they don't want to do that for whatever reason. They just don't, and I don't get it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they don't, but this team's got to be active next week. All I'm going to say is the team needs to be active next week. Now, if you look at the upcoming schedule, Garrett Cole pitches tonight, so they should be able to be able to stop the bleeding. But say they lose 2 out of 3 and get swept by the Red Sox, that should completely, we'll get to that, but that should completely motivate this front office to do something.
Yeah, you would think, but does Catherine give up with Spencer Jones, your top prospect? Does he give up your top pitching prospect and Chase Hampton? Does he does he do that? Does he even does he go out and trade a Dominguez? Will he do that? I don't know. If his job was on the line, he would. His job's not on the line, so I don't think he will. I think that's the issue too. But yeah, this team's got to be aggressive because if he did what he did last year and just goes get out like a Kenya Middleton, does the minimal. That's not really going to make the fans very excited, and I just
and the difference between this year and last year is you actually have a legitimate chance this year. You're for how poorly they've played the last month. They're still a game. They're only a game and a half behind the the Guardians and the Orioles. They're only a game and a half. They could very easily, if they make a move and get hot in August and September, they could get they could have home field advantage throughout the entire postseason. Even though they're not. There's no. I don't think anyone's as good as the Phillies or Dodgers, but this is a winnable American League with Houston kind of being down a little. I know they're playing better. They're being down a little bit this year. Baltimore, even though we haven't with us, they haven't played well either recently. The Guardians, they have some trouble in the rotation. This team, it's going to come down to which one of these 3 teams makes moves to who's going to be the top seed in the American League. And that's why there is definitely a difference between this year and last year. Last year, this team was in 4th place. So Cashman was like, what am I going to mortgage for this team? But this year, you get rid of Spencer. You get rid of Spencer Jones for this team.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did, talk about the Orioles. I did see, I think it was Monday, the Tigers did have some scouts, watching the Orioles AAA team in Norfolk. So that, I would assume that would mean the Orioles are looking into Tarek Siebel, who, is kind of the front runner right now in the American League Cy Young. So if they had a guy like that, they got the pieces down there AAA that they can go trade for Siebel. So yeah, the O's are gonna get better. We'll see what Cleveland does. You never really know with them. You would think they try to improve. Houston, is usually pretty aggressive. And the way they've been playing of late, I'd be shocked if that organization doesn't try to make a move or two. So yeah, they better. There's guys out there. I know it's not a huge seller market, but there's a couple guys out there. But yeah, they have to make a move because you haven't been playing well. But yeah, also the O's and even Cleveland's come back to earth a little bit here. So yeah, you make a move or two, it's definitely possible that you could have home field advantage. I don't really believe in the team right now to do that, but it is still out there and possible, which is crazy to say.
It is crazy to say, but it is possible. But we are going to move on to the Red Sox. And the Red Sox, I think over the last couple of days, they've shown a major hole on this roster, and that's the bridge to get that is the bullpen, especially outside of Kenley Jansen, because there have been 3 games. They're 1-4 out of the break. 3 of those games, they had the lead going into the 8th inning. Friday night, they had the lead against the Dodgers. Freeman is the grand slam. They have the 1-run lead against them on Saturday. Jansen gives it up. Then they give it up again in the 10th inning. Then they lose that game on Saturday. They lose Sunday. And then on Monday, they have a 7-5 lead and two yard goats, former yard goats beat them. Yeah. Sam Hilliard with the 2-run homer and Ezekiel Tovar gets the game-winning hit against them. So the Red Sox right now, they need bullpen help. They also, I think, need some depth in the rotation. I actually think that's more of their need more than their lineup, because I think that you could live with this lineup. You could live with this lineup. The way Tommy O'Neill's hitting, you got Devers, you got Duran, you're going to get Cassius coming back, you got Rafaela. I think the lineup is I know they're very lefty. Maybe a right-handed bat would be would be helpful. But I think the lineup is is your least priority. Your priority right now is definitely bullpen help and definitely getting another starting pitcher, because how can Crawford struggled this week.
Yeah. Yeah. Boston could be 4-1 so far out of the break and, be right there, be like 2 games out of the East right now with being in first place. So, yeah, the bullpen's really, losing Chris Martin kind of hurt. I think he started throwing yesterday, so maybe he's another week. Cassis, I guess, had a setback, so now he's probably at least another month, it sounds like, that he will not be back. What Story said this weekend, because I guess he's been with the team this week, he said, this team does make the playoffs, you know, he could be back. So you could add a bat like that if you do make the playoffs. So yeah, if they make a move or two, they definitely got to make a move in a bullpen, 1 or 2. You'll get Jansen back this weekend. Hopefully Martin in a week or so for him. But yeah, and then maybe even Liam Hendricks. I think maybe in the middle of August you get him back, and that's a guy that's had a lot of experience late, as a setup or a closer. So you could add a guy like that as well, and yeah, you can add one more bullpen arm. I don't know if they're in, for the Tanner Scott sweepstakes with the Marlins, but that's one guy too at the closer spot they could have, but that's their huge one. And definitely another starter for Boston, because yeah, it's been a tough start out of the gates from the All-Star break, but they've had one of the best records of all baseball, like the last month and a half or two. So they've been playing well majority of the time of late, but yeah, hopefully they can salvage, or get Colorado, win the series in Colorado. I know it still wouldn't be a great road trip, but to go home and take on a Yankee team has really showed to beat you this year, and take another 2 out of 3 from them, and but yeah, the Red Sox definitely after this weekend or in the last couple of days, they definitely need bullpen help.
Oh, they definitely do, and they got to do something. Tanner Scott, whatever, they got to do something, man. They have to, because the last 2 years they haven't, especially last year. And if they don't do anything at the trade deadline, Alex Cora should just quit. Alex Cora should resign and get another, because teams will be lining up teams that need a manager are going to be lining up to hire Alex Cora. There's no way if the Red Sox do nothing at the trade deadline or even sell, being one game out of the wild card, if ownership forces Brezzo to do that, you don't stay with this organization anymore. You get out of there. You get out of there, and you and you go find another job, because this is so obvious that the Red Sox should be buyers. It is just so they're one game behind the Royals. They're one game behind the Royals and the Twins for that last wild card spot. It is so obvious that you are a buyer, and if you're not, and you're Alex Cora, you do not re-sign with this team.
Yeah, I don't know if he will, because it sounds like he wants Craig Counsell money, and I don't think the way the ownership's going right now, I don't think they're going to want to pay that for a manager. So I see it's pretty likely that he won't be back. From all things considered right now, but yeah, they lose a guy like that, it's going to really hurt the future, of the club. But yeah, this Boston team, they, especially in a year where this was supposed to kind of just be more of a rebuild year. You had a lot of young guys who are trying to, who have done a really good job, like, Williard Abreu, David Hamilton. Obviously Jared Durant had a monster year, Stadium Rafaela, like those type of guys who, trying to really find themselves and kind of show that they're major players. And for the most part, they have. So yeah, you would think in a year where there wasn't a ton of expectations that, you try to be aggressive and try to take advantage of it, especially if the team can make the playoffs with their lineup, and if they get another pitcher or two in the bullpen, with how wide open the American League is, they get hot at the right time. We've seen this team go on a run multiple times when they've gotten it to October. So yeah, they got to try to make a move or two to get in the playoffs, because it's pretty wide open, and that's a team with Alex Cora that could definitely make a run and be one of the last teams standing in the playoffs.
And the Phillies and Diamondbacks have shown you over the last couple of years, if you get into the playoffs, you have a chance. If you get into the playoffs, you would have a chance. That's why it's so foolish for the Red Sox to sell to trade off parts that they do, because if the Red Sox just get into the playoffs, this is the NBA. If they get into the playoffs, it's like the 6th seed in the American League. They have a chance. They could win, a 5-game series against Baltimore or Cleveland and get to an ALCS. They have a chance. So it would be so foolish for the Red Sox after seeing the growth of some of their young players, Rafaela, Duran, and obviously Devers having a big year, O'Neill having a surprise year as well, and Houck, having a good year too. It would be foolish for the Red Sox to not go for this. They need to go for this. And seeing, the Patriots are going to be looking this year with Jacoby Brissett as their starter. I think, the Boston fans need something to pay attention to in the fall. So the Red Sox need. I've been saying this for weeks. We can't be sitting here next week. If we're sitting here next week and they do nothing, then we're just ripping John. I'll be ripping John Henry because it'll prove to you that he doesn't care about putting a winning team on the field anymore. So they got to do something.
They have to, and I think I was telling you a couple weeks ago on the show. It's right around the end of. Right around the beginning of June, I believe it was, right around the time when the team got hot, and they were 500, and John Henry was disappointed, and the group thought the record should have been better. So he's saying all that, and this team's now 8 games over 500. You would think that he gives the okay, but we've seen him. We saw him after he fired Hein Bloom, and he said it was all systems go this offseason, that they were gonna be aggressive, and we clearly saw they didn't. So yeah, he's really turned into one of the most disliked owners in that city. And yeah, if this team doesn't make a move here, I think that hate will go even more for him. Especially, I heard when the Padres came in, the hate for Henry started when he fired Don Osilo 9 years ago. That's
really?
when
Wow.
I guess it started. But he was a very good broadcaster with the Red Sox. So since then, he's not been a big fan in that city. But yeah, it's only gonna get worse for him if they don't make a move, which would pretty much just it be hypocritical for him for what he said last September, and what he said late May or early June, somewhere around there, about disappointing record so far, and we want to be better, and if he doesn't make a move here, that's going to be on him, because I think Breslow would want to, obviously, and it's going to be on Henry. So yeah, I'd be right with you, blaming Henry if they don't make a move.
Yeah, it's not on the GM anymore. It's on the owner. If they don't make a move, it's on the owner. It's definitely on John Henry if this team doesn't improve at the trade deadline. But we got to talk about the weekend series between these two teams. The Yankees, for the second time this year, head to Fenway to face the Red Sox. Red Sox 4-2 against the Yankees. Won the series in the middle. Won that series in the middle of June. They took 2 out of 3 in the middle of June. Took 2 out of 3 at Yankee Stadium over July 4th weekend. So they will meet again this weekend at Fenway Park. And I look at the pitching matchup. You got Cortez against Bello. Bello's really struggled. Cortez has struggled as well. Then you got Stroman against Crawford and Houck against Rondon. I look at this series, and I look at the way the Yankees are hitting. And I know the Red Sox bullpen has struggled of late, but 2 of those 3 games were against one of the best teams in the league, in the Dodgers. So I think the Red Sox, they took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees early in June and in July. I think they're going to do it again because I think they got their 2 best pitchers going. You saw the way Crawford pitched against the Yankees that Sunday night game. He pitched really well. And Tanner Hawks had a really good year too. And Rondon, even though he pitched well on Monday, he struggled. Stroman, he's been kind of up and down. Cortez, he struggled. I think the Red Sox got the advantage. They got the advantage with the pitching matchups, and I got the Red Sox taking 2 out of 3. And I think, and in a way, you kind of hope that happens as a Yankee fan. So that motivates Brian Cashman that we got to make some moves on Tuesday.
Yeah, you would hope it would motivate Cashman, and we'll see if he does that or not. But yeah, I'm with you. I think the Red Sox take 2 out of 3. I know it has been a great trip for him, but yeah, I'm like, the Yankees can't really hit anybody right now, so I don't think it matters if the Red Sox bullpen struggles, because as long as you don't make Judge or Soto beat you, Boston should be in good shape, and Core's much brighter than Aaron Boone, and I don't think he'll let that happen. So yeah, I'm gonna take Boston with 2 out of 3. That Crawford started in Sunday Night Baseball. I think he had 40 pitches through 5 innings. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It's something you just don't really see at all. So yeah, I'm gonna take Boston with 2 out of 3. I think right now they're playing like the better team, and yeah, you would hope it wakes up the Yankees front office, but who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. So it is a big series at Fenway this weekend. I mean, it means a lot to both teams because the Yankees trying to fight for the division, and even the Red Sox. They're only how many games are they behind the Yankees? Like 4 games. So say the Red Sox
4.5.
4.5. So say the Red Sox take 2 out of 3 here. they'll probably be 3.5 behind the Yankees because I think both teams will win today. I think the Sox will win today in Colorado. Yankees will finally beat the Mets with Garrett Cole. So if they take 2 out of 3, the Sox would only be 3.5 games out. So this is a big series because if the Red Sox win it, I think they still have a chance to catch the Yankees. If they don't, it's 5.5. It could be a little more difficult for them to catch the Yankees. So this is a big series in terms of the Red Sox, pick up some ground on the Yankees.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And after they face the Yankees, they got the Mariners at home, which is going to be a big series. Then they go to Texas, Kansas City, and Houston coming up. So they got a pretty big month of August. If you look at the rest of their schedule that month, there's a lot of wild card teams that they got to face most of that, especially most of the month. And even like the Orioles. So yeah, I think this weekend it starts a huge stretch for Boston for the next 3 weeks or so to really put themselves in position to get a wild card spot. So yeah, it's a huge weekend for Boston, and also for New York to kind of try to get some momentum going. Finally, hopefully, you win an actual series again, which would be nice. I know they did right before the break, but they've won one in the last 9, 10, something like that. So it'd be nice to get another one. So yeah, hopefully, it's definitely a big weekend for both teams.
It definitely is. It definitely is. So we got a quarterback who wants a big deal. But before we talk about that, we will hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEG's Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make this. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
So we got some news with no surprise. We got some news with the Cowboys with CeeDee Lamb, and it looks like he is expected not to report to Cowboys camp. CeeDee Lamb is looking for a new deal, and I think the Cowboys have completely botched this situation. I mean, they could have paid him, 2 or 3 months ago, and they wouldn't have to pay him, Justin Jefferson money, $36 million a year. He's going to, even though he's not as good as Justin Jefferson, he's going to get money. They've also bought the thing with Dak Prescott. The fact that Dak Prescott is going into a contract here is ridiculous. There should have been some sort of an extension or some way they could have moved that money around. They had to go into the offseason with a $55 million cap hit. You got the owner/general manager saying we're going to be all in. Well, it's hard to be all in when your quarterback has a $55 million cap hit. You got to move that money around. So the Cowboys, it is just a mess right now. You got 3 top players who still need extensions. And that just tells you all you need to know about the Cowboys right now.
Yeah, it's a mess in Dallas right now. With Dak and that contract, and you got to get him done. And obviously, I know we'll talk about Jordan Love and what the money he's gonna want. Dak's gonna want big money. Yeah, Micah Parsons been one of the best defensive players since he's entered the league, and he's gonna want top down. And yeah, CeeDee Lamb's really improved and has become one of the better wide receivers in the league. And yeah, he should not get Justin Jefferson money, but he's probably going to want close to 30 million, like it's a
Oh yeah.
lot, it's a lot to three guys. And I know the cap keys going up for the sport, but yeah, the Cowboys botched this. They should have started this, getting Layman in Parsons on, yeah, like the last year or two to try to, set, to get those two done long term now and not worry about Dak. But yeah, to worry about all three, it's tough. And, there's not a lot of expectations either for the Cowboys this year, So yeah, it's gonna be a lot different for it feels like for Dallas, and it's gonna be a lot to sign those three guys.
It is, and it's a little bit eerily similar to when they had Zeke and they had Dak the first time and Amari Cooper. They paid all three of them, but the problem was with the contract Zeke had, they gave Zeke. They were forced to trade Amari Cooper, which was ridiculous. I mean, they gave Zeke this crazy deal. Because they gave him this crazy this crazy deal. Obviously, they paid Dak. They had to, but then they paid Cooper. They had to trade Amari Cooper, which was not a good move for that team. They traded him for like a 5th-round pick to the Browns. So this is kind of similar to that. And if they lose, if they end up losing CeeDee Lamb, I know the receiver is not the most important position, but that's going to be a big loss to this team if they lose CeeDee Lamb in the next year or two.
Yeah, it would be because their number 2 receiver now is a Brandon Cooks who, is 30 years old. He's a nice player, but he's not a number 1. Then you got Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks, Turbine. Like there's not, they do not have a lot of depth at the wide receiver position. So yeah, they need a couple guys to really step up. I know that tight end spot, Jake Ferguson had a really nice year, but yeah, they're going to need some help with the wide receiver position if they can't figure something out here with CeeDee Lamb. So yeah, you don't want that situation where they got to trade somebody like a Amari Cooper away, like they had to a couple years ago. But yeah, the quarterback salary is going up, and Parsons going to want top dollars, and it's important to have those pass rushers that can get to the quarterback, which Parsons can. So, yeah, there's a lot of figuring out that Jerry Jones has to do right now, and it'd be tough, but be interested to see how Jerry does it.
Yeah, and as I've said, this is the problem when you have a GM like Jerry Jones, very good at drafting players, terrible at negotiating contracts, and that's why this team has been put behind the 8 ball. You look at a team like the Lions; they took care of it. Both of the guys they drafted in 2021, they took care of both those guys. They took care of Penei Sewell. They took care of Amon-Ra St. Brown. They have taken care of those guys. I mean, Jerry should have taken care of CeeDee Lamb last year. That's when he should have done it. He's waited, it's because he drafted him in 2020. He was extension eligible last year, and he didn't do it. Look at the Lions. Right when Amon-Ra was extension eligible, he got paid. Right when Penei Sewell was extension eligible, he got paid. So it just the fact that you have all three of these guys, not having new deals is ridiculous, and it shows you why Jerry Jones isn't as good as John Lynch or Howie Roseman or Brad Holmes. The GM or Les Snead, the GMs he's got to compete with for his team to get to where they want to get to. And there's a reason the Cowboys, they're always pretty good. They're not poorly ran, but the reason they never get to where they want to get to is because of Jerry and Stephen Jones.
Yeah, that's been the problem for many years. That's why they haven't made the NFC title game in over a quarter of a century now.
They're great at beating the Giants and they're great at beating the Commanders, but they're terrible at getting to where they want to get to.
Yeah, they are, and that's been the case for them the last, now close to 3 decades for that franchise. And yeah, they make the playoffs. Seems like every year. Maybe they'll win that wild card round, but usually they do not get past the divisional round. And it feels kind of that's going to be the same thing again this year with this team.
9-10 win team, and they'll probably maybe win a playoff game and probably lose in the first round. It's definitely their floor and their ceiling are very close. Their floor is like they're probably not going to have a losing record. So their floor is probably like 9-10 wins. But their ceiling is like 11-12 wins and not get past the divisional round. Yeah.
And, you got the Eagles that are playing a second place schedule. You got the first place schedule now, which gives the Eagles a little bit of advantage, as well. So, yeah, with Jerry, the way he's ran things, the way that like you just go back to that performance last year in the playoffs against the Packers. That was a team that was ill-repaired and got scared the minute, Green Bay went up and down the field on him, and they pretty much lied down for most of that game. So yeah, it's and then because there's a ton of pressure to him, Mike McCarthy. He's got to probably win a game or two this year in the playoffs as well. So there's a lot of pressure pretty much on everybody right now in that organization, and Jerry does not help that out by talking to the media every single week during the season, and doing the press conferences after games. Like he does not help. He doesn't help anybody else out in that organization. Yeah, and the contract's up too, adding also that into the equation too. He's not, a lot of these owners that try to get too involved, it never pans out for them.
Nope, it does not. And that's why the Cowboys don't get to where they got to get to. But we got to move on to a quarterback to the quarterback who knocked the Cowboys out of the playoffs last year, and that's Jordan Love. And right now, he will not be practicing until he gets a new deal. So this guy, I know he's been in the league. This is his 5th year in the league, but he really had one great, it was a great half. Second half of last year, he was probably one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And you look at, he had 18 touchdowns, 1 pick, and look at some of the teams he beat. In that stretch, he beat Mahomes and the Chiefs, the Lions on the road. He won 3 straight to end the year. Was really good against the Vikings. Won a playoff game. So he was great at the end of the year. But the big thing, the thing is now is he wants a big deal. He wants $56 million a year. The question is with Jordan Love is he going to be the highest paid player in the sport? And seeing what teams are doing with quarterbacks now, seeing Trevor Lawrence's deal, seeing Justin Herbert's deal last year, I think he's going to end up being it. I think they're going to pay him. They're going to pay even for one great half season. If he was great for a half season, I think the Packers are going to do it. This is a guy they traded up to draft. They love this guy. They trade when Aaron Rodgers in Aaron Rodgers' prime, before he had 2 MVP seasons. They drafted this guy. They traded up to draft this guy. They love this guy. I don't think they should pay him right now, but I think they will.
Yeah, I don't think they should pay him either, but they probably will. You mentioned it. Yeah, they traded up for him. They've had their eye on him for a while, and he finally got to start, or finally got, finally became like the first, finally got the starting job. And yeah, first half of the year was not great. The team didn't play well. The second half they were pretty. He was awesome, and the worst game was again at the Giants on a Monday night.
Against the Giants. The only interception he threw. A kid from Connecticut got that pick too, Jason Pinnock. Yeah, that was his worst game. Was against the Giants. The game they lost in that Monday night game.
Yeah, and they lost that game to Danny Dimes too. Like that,
Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, Danny would. Oh yeah. I don't know why. I must do Daniel Jones, but yeah, then you lost it. Yeah, Tommy DeVito in that game as well, which it's not a great look. Like, look, can he perform now for 17 weeks like that? We don't
know because we saw the first half of the year where they started 3-6.
Yeah, and they did not play well at all, and they were losing some games at home that they shouldn't have, and they were trailing a lot of games. Kind of going the fourth quarter, like they were not playing great, and yeah, that's kind of the one worry is, yeah, it was a great second half, but have we seen enough film and tape on him, in the league for him to deserve that much money? I would say no. I know they made the run. He was awesome that game against Dallas, but yeah, it's the way that it's trending with the quarterbacks right now in the league. But yeah, it's a lot of money for $56 million to give a guy who has been a starter for 1 year and had a really good second half. It's a lot of money to throw at a guy. And it's risky, but it seems like they're going to do it.
But the thing is, the starting quarterback has so much leverage. If you don't give him that deal, Sean Clifford is probably going to be the starting quarterback in week 1. So it just shows you now how much leverage these starting quarterbacks have in the league. Lamar wanted to be traded last year. That's why the Ravens ended up paying. You just have so much leverage now. If you play well for even a short period of time, look at Daniel Jones. He had one really good year, and he got paid. The starting quarterback nowadays has so much leverage because the big question is who are you going to replace him with? Who are you going to replace Jordan Love with? If you don't pay Jordan Love, you're going to be out of it. The position means so much nowadays and the players have so much leverage where I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Packers give him $56 million.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't either. And you mentioned it, how much they really love this guy, and like if they really do, if you really like it, like him, you're going to give him the money, and you really think he's going to be your next quarterback to get you a ring, or you would think multiple with giving a guy 56 million, you're going to give him that money. You know, I'm not a big Matt LaFleur guy either. Like I'm not a big fan. He's had his moments in the playoffs. That NFC Championship game with Rodgers a couple years ago. Like he's had his bad moments. So that's the other thing too. But yeah, I just it's a ton of money. I get it why you're giving these quarterbacks this much money, but at a time at a point you're gonna get to where you just can't go any higher with these guys. Like you just can't. But yeah, for him, it's crazy for a guy that hasn't even made like a NFC Championship game yet that to make this much money is insane.
He's only had one good half of the season.
Yeah.
Realistically, he's had one good half of the season. Yeah, I know he's been in the league for a while, but one good half, and he's probably gonna be the highest paid player in the league. But that's how it works nowadays. That's just how it works.
Yeah, it is. It is. Who would be next? You know, off the top of your head, who would be the next quarterback in line?
Oh, Tua.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
Tua.
I know the Dolphins are hesitant right now with Tua because of his injury history and and his play without McDaniel. But Tua's the next guy in line.
Yeah, yeah. Like I forgot about Tua, but yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I know with the injury history there, they got that to worry about. But yeah, like I can't imagine, Tua's gonna be asking more than that. I mean, I can't imagine. But yeah, it's just Love's gonna probably reset the QB market yet again, which is insane. And at a point too, like we saw the Chiefs with Mahomes. You can't resign. They couldn't resign Tyreek Hill. The Bengals giving all that money, Joe Burrow. They have Chase, so it's gonna be tough. Be tough anyways to pay two number one wide receivers that money. But like it's just it's tough to build a team around it. It makes drafting so much more important. And we talk about that. Dallas has done a pretty good job with that. Green Bay's usually pretty good at drafting, but it makes it so much more crucial to hitting your draft picks. And Kansas City's done that too the last couple years.
That's a great point. And that's the thing about Kansas City. Kansas City, especially on the defensive side of the ball, they've done an excellent job of hitting on draft picks. Nick Bolton, Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis. I'm telling you, if Kansas City didn't hit on some of those draft picks after they paid Mahomes, they would not have won those two Super Bowls the last 2 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not. Because where their defense was, 4 years ago or so, was not. They had one of the worst defenses in the league, and yeah, now they're one of the better ones. So right now, in the NFL. So yeah, it makes drafting so much more important now because you've got to hit on all those rookies
Exactly.
or first, second year guys, and yeah, especially at the top. So it makes it so much more crucial. So yeah, Packers usually are decent at that, but yeah, now it really puts a lot of pressure, especially because wide receivers. I know, Watson. If he could stay healthy, like wide receivers aren't great. They got some young guys, but can they stay healthy? Can they prove themselves that they could you know be top targets for Jordan Love?
Too. Yeah, I mean the thing about their receiving core is they don't have like an elite guy, but they're deep. Yeah. It's deep with Wicks, with Dobbs, with Watson. They're deep there.
Yeah, so that does help. But yeah, so for the Packers, running back's not bad with Jacobs. He can stay healthy. Marshawn Lloyd, AJ Dillon. So they got some weapons around Jordan Love. So if they're gonna pay him now, it's up to Jordan Love to go out and execute in a league where you're gonna be right there with the Lions for being the favorite to win that division, and the Vikings and Bears who are two not they're not bad at all either. So you got a tough division there where feels like a couple teams could definitely very easily could win that division.
Yeah, to me, I think outside of the NFC North, it's the toughest division. AFC North is the toughest division in football because, you have the Lions, who they're my favorite to go to the Super Bowl. You got the Bears. I know Caleb Williams is a rookie, but they have really good offensive talent around them. And the same thing with the Vikings. They're going to have issues at quarterback because they're going to start Sam Darnold, and J.J. McCarthy will eventually start. But they're good with the talent they have, especially the talent they have, and the offensive coaching from Kevin O'Connell. They're going to be tough too. So this is going to be a really, really tough division. So it'll be interesting to see what Jordan Love does, especially if he gets paid.
Yeah, it absolutely will. It'll be it's going to be another fun division, and good quarterbacks. We'll see J.J. McCarthy can kind of get into that full too, and Because we're saying the AFC North. All those good offenses, and the Seals are trying to catch up now with Russell Wilson. So yeah, it should be a really fun division. Ton of storylines in that division. It should be fun.
Absolutely. So, talking about storylines, we have Big Ten media days this week in Indianapolis, and I think the biggest story is what's Michigan going to be like without Jim Harbaugh? How big of a loss is Jim Harbaugh going to be for Michigan? And again, I look at this schedule for Michigan. I know the bigger losses. I don't think they're going to be as good this year. Obviously, with Sharon Moore taking over as head coach, losing Harbaugh, but also you lose JJ McCarthy, you lose Blake Corum, and you lose they lost their leading receiver as well. They lost what's Roman Wilson, right?
Yep. Yeah, Roman Wilson.
They lost their leading receiver as well. So I think Michigan is definitely going to miss Harbaugh, but they're also going to miss the talent. They're also going to miss the talent they lost on offense. So, but I do think Harbaugh is going to be a loss. Justin, how big of a loss is Jim Harbaugh going to be for Michigan?
I think he'll be a loss. Now when he was suspended last year, he was able to be around that team Monday through Friday. So he was at practice every day, and he was able to make the game plans every week. So all Sharon Moore had to do was just go out and execute it. So and that team was so talented, and they lost, I think, all five of their four. They lost four of the five offensive linemen, which was the best in the sport and one of the best we've seen the last couple of years. So, that was a deep team that had a ton of draft picks, and we'll continue with some of the guys that stayed along this year. But I definitely think it's be a loss. But he definitely rose that bar back up for Michigan, and he left a lot for Sharon Moore to kind of have, and we'll see. But he's definitely be a loss because again, that Michigan program was not as shambles, but they definitely lost some prestige there for a while. And in Michigan now is kind of back on the forefront. So I definitely think it'll be lost because Harbaugh's won wherever he's gone, and he's going to go to LA and turn things around there pretty quickly.
Yeah, I look at Michigan's schedule too. They huge game with Texas on the 7th. That's a humongous game for both teams. They got to go to Ohio State. They still got to host Oregon. I very easily could see this Michigan team missing the playoffs entirely. I think they're a 9-3 team. I definitely could see them missing the playoffs in Moore's first year.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they were picked fourth or fifth in Big Ten.
Fourth, because it was Ohio State, Oregon. Oregon got some votes to be number one. Penn State third because they have so much coming back, and then Michigan fourth.
Yeah, so and I think that's probably where they're be. Yeah, Texas right now they're a 4-point underdog. So kind of a toss
at the big house too.
At the big house. Yeah. Yeah, so that's gonna be a tough one. Oregon, they're like a 4-point dog as well. Ohio, you would think this is the year Ohio State's got to go bury Michigan, and you think they would this year. I think right now it's 10.5. So it's probably gonna be an 8-4 team. So yeah, they're probably gonna miss the playoffs this year. Maybe 9-3. Maybe sneaks you in, but it's more likely this year that they probably go 8-4. So to me, a little bit down here, the quarterback's kind of going to be the big question of who's going to start there.
Absolutely. But speaking of Ohio State, they were picked to be, obviously, no surprise, they were picked to be the favorite to win the Big Ten. The big question is, should they be the favorite? In my opinion, absolutely. I think with, improving pretty much everywhere. They're going to improve at quarterback with Will Howard. They improved at running back with Junkins. And they have their second, they lost Marv, but they have their second leading receiver coming back as well. And they got a really good defense behind it. So I think they definitely should be the favorite. And by far their toughest game on that schedule. If you look at Ohio State's schedule, their non-conference schedule is very easy. And by far their toughest game is going to be at Oregon. I know they play Michigan and Penn State, but outside of that 1 year, they've owned Penn State. James Franklin has never beaten Ryan Day. And then after losing to them 3 years in a row, and with Michigan being a little bit down, I don't think there's any way they lose to Michigan this year. So I think that Ohio State should definitely be the favorite to win the Big Ten.
Yeah, I agree there with you. That one game in Oregon right now, it's pretty much a toss-up. It's Oregon's like a 1-point favorite at the moment. So that game's gonna be a toss-up, but we know going into Eugene, it's not gonna be easy. But yeah, this is a huge year for Ryan Day. He brought in Chip Kelly, who I think he trusts that Chip's probably going to be more the play caller now offensively. Which I think that's going to be what he's going to do. But bringing in Jenkins, I think I heard it was close to 15 to 20 million they spent on the team. Ohio State did, so it's a
Wow.
lot of money. That you're spending, and those boosters are not happy with the Michigan, losing. And
Oh, they lose to Michigan. If they lose to Michigan, is Day
he's-
gone? Is he fired?
I I I would say he shouldn't be, but I think there'll be enough Ohio State boosters that will pay for that to happen that they would fire him. Because that's the game that matters to them. It really is, and
It cost, and 2 of the last 3 years, it cost him a playoff spot.
it did. Yeah, it did. And even though it did, and even though it's crazy to think about, but they should have beat Georgia that year. If Marvin Harrison doesn't get knocked out of that game. They had Georgia on the ropes.
Oh,
so
they should have won. If the kicker makes the
they
kick,
would have won that.
they would have. Yeah, because they would have beat TCU.
Yeah, so it's crazy to think about because he shouldn't be in the hot seat, but he is because of the standards you got at Ohio State. So there's a ton of pressure. The one worry I have is the quarterback spot. I don't know if Will Howard or Julian Sayer to transfer from Alabama. I don't know if they're national championship level quarterbacks.
But they're upgrades over Kyle McCord, and they won every game outside of. Or did they win outside in the regular season? I don't know what they. I can't remember what they did in their bowl. I think they lost their bowl game. They lost their bowl game in Missouri, but in the regular season they won. They were 11-0 with Kyle McCord. So it's an upgrade at quarterback. Even though the schedule's tougher this year, it's an upgrade at quarterback. It's an upgrade over Kyle McCord because Kyle McCord was, I think, average at best last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he was. He was. Definitely a step below, obviously, what Ohio State standards have been at the quarterback spot. But I like Will Howard. Come over Kansas State. I don't know. He might fit that more runs. Like they're going to Michigan's more run scheme now, than more of the throw it around kind of with your wide receivers and have them make the big plays downfield. But so they're going to the Michigan route a little bit more here. But with Chip coming in with Ryan Day, I don't. The other thing too, if they, he does lose to Michigan, I don't think Mike Vrabel would take because I think Mike Vrabel wants to get back to the NFL. But Mike Vrabel's an Ohio State guy. Ohio State
let me tell you, they
money.
lose to Michigan. To me, they lose to Michigan. Mike Vrabel's the head coach.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think they throw much money. I don't know how much he wants to be in college. I think, but I wouldn't be shocked. That's I've thought about that too. Of Mike Vrabel, because they could probably give him $10-15 million. He wants a head coach there, so I could see that. So I think that adds more pressure. But yeah, for Ohio State, they're the only team the top 5 in the media poll in the conference that have to play the other 4. They do have to play Oregon. They do have to play Penn State. They play Michigan. They play Iowa. So they do have one of the tougher Big Ten schedules. But I think they should be 11-1, and that one loss is probably going to be Oregon. I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. Yeah, 11-1, get in the playoffs. Probably win. They probably play Oregon. They might play Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. So we'll see what happens there. But I do agree. I do think they are the favorite in the conference. Now, speaking of Oregon, though, they are coming over from the Big Ten to the Pac-12. There's 4 teams: Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA. The question is which one of those teams is going to have the easiest time this year in their first year? Who's going to have the best season in their first year? And I think it's obvious. It's Oregon. Dylan Gabriel's back. They got Dan Lanning, who's had a lot of success. You look at USC, they lost. I like Lincoln Riley, but they lost Caleb Williams. You look at UCLA, they lost with their best defensive player, and Chip Kelly's gone. And then you look at Washington, they literally lost everything and their head coach. Washington was, what team was picked out of Washington in the Big Ten media poll? Rutgers. That's telling you a lot that they lost a lot of players. So it comes down to Oregon and USC, but I think it's definitely Oregon because they have a good quarterback and a good team coming back, and a good coach coming back too.
Yeah, I'm with you there with Oregon because them and Ohio State are like 2 or 3, and you could kind of nitpick who's second and who's third. Like those 2 teams are going to be really, really good. Behind Georgia for the best team in the country, and then USC with Lincoln Riley, he finally brought in some good defensive personnel. But I want to see it first before I kind of get, I want to see it, before I start believing to see if he's turned a corner defensively and starts to care about it. And Washington, they lost so many guys from last year, and Rutgers is ahead of them too because Rutgers has got, I think, the easiest Big Ten schedule. They don't have to play Ohio State, Michigan, or Penn State.
Wow, do they have to play Oregon?
They do not.
Wow! That's why they're picked for 9th in the league.
Yep. So that's why there. So that's definitely helped them. And yeah, UCLA lost so much after Chip Kelly left, and it really sounds like the boosters or there's not a lot of NIL money there. I think that's a big reason why Chip left. Chip Kelly's never been a big fan of recruiting and having to kind of go out and speak and try to fundraise. Like that's not he just wants to call plays. So that's why he left the NFL for the first time, and that's why he's gonna go be the OC there at Ohio State now. But UCLA now, Eric Bieniemy is the OC UCLA, but he does not have a ton of work with this year. They're gonna be one of the worst Big Ten teams out there. So I think Oregon by pretty good margin here should be the best team. Of the Pac-12 teams coming over the Big Ten.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Should be interesting. Should be a really, really good Big Ten season, which starts in almost a month. But we'll wrap up talking about Team USA, and they've struggled before the Olympics. I mean, barely beating Australia, barely beating South Sudan, barely beating Germany. Should we have concern about this U.S. team? Should we have some concern about this team going to the Olympics? I don't, because number one, they've been playing without Kevin Durant. They got, 4 other top 10 players with Steph, Ant-Man, LeBron, Curry, and Embiid. I think this U.S. team just has too much. I know there's talent all over the world. You got their first game. They're going to be playing Jokic in Serbia. I mean, you got Wemby playing for France. So there's talent all around the world. Canada pretty much is an NBA starting 5, with SGA and with Dylan Brooks. So they have an NBA starting 5, but I still think at full strength, this U.S. team is far and away the best team going to the Olympics.
Yeah, I'm not too worried. I know they got a lot of older guys, but I think there's still.
This will probably be the last Olympics, though, where they will completely dominate. I think this will be it because of all the international talent in the NBA.
Yeah, like it's really grown internationally, and they were like a 43.5-point favorite in South Sudan, and
they won by one.
Yeah. Germany, they almost lost. 2-time national championship Niels Giffey is on Team Germany. I think they need to go get now an Olympic medal. But
so if they play, are you gonna be rooting for Germany?
No, I'll be cheering for USA. I'll cheer for Niels when they're not playing USA. But hoping Niels can get a Olympic medal now along with his 2 national titles. I think this. Team USA, there's still a ton of talent. KD comes back and he's one of the most offensively gifted players out there. So, they're a little aged, but I think this team's going to be fine. And, defensively too, I know they gave a ton of points in the paint, but this team to be able to outscore a lot of teams. So you could see it. Like they could play their half, they can go 50%, when they turn it on third, fourth quarter, they could really put it on team. So they should still be fine. I'm not too worried about them not winning the gold medal.
I'm not either. I think they win the gold medal. I just think they have by far the most talented team, but it should be interesting. To see what happens in the Olympics. It should be fun. Opening ceremony start on Friday, so it should be fun to see what happens in the Olympics. But that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For Steve Risser, for Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We will be back next week recapping the trade deadline in Major League Baseball. We'll be talking about any NFL news that comes our way, and we will also be talking about the U.S. in the Olympics because they open up on Sunday. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group, and here at CMG we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men, and great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.